Welcome, friends, enemies, and frenemies, to the Millennial Doomsday Review. I am, as I was before and will always be, the brain in a jar. You may have felt my absence strongly these past few weeks. I understand. Life has probably been very hard on you. Maybe you feel abandoned. But rest assured, I would not leave you to wander these desolate wastes on your own, on a horse with no name, without good reason. I have been on a cosmic journey through time and space, to learn the secrets of the universe and finally unlock the wisdom needed for humanity to achieve mass self-actualization and live in peace. It was all right. I should tell you about it sometime. And now, the news that matters. With Michael Cohen's testimony to Congress, revelations about security clearances for Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, a spa owner, and alleged human trafficker with links to the Chinese Communist Party selling access to the Trump administration, the continuation of the child separation policy, Gayle King's interview with R. Kelly, Tucker Carlson giving a spirited defense of child marriage. Wait. Seriously, what is there more of this? Do I have to keep going? I have to keep going. CPAC being held at the Mountains of Madness. Malort, the worst liquor ever created, to resume production in Chicago. A woman was mauled seeking a Jaguar selfie. The unapproved transfer of sensitive nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia. And Tim Apple. We have once again exceeded the ability of news media to process scandal. In short, we have passed a media event horizon. America's attention span, already less than impressive, simply cannot cope with this much information. If I tried to cover them all, I'd die after a week of furious activity, like a lonely workaholic Japanese bureaucrat. We here at MDR would like to apologize to any lonely workaholic Japanese bureaucrats who may be listening. This was not attempted to disparage you or your fine work, which continues to go unrecognized, but we see you there. We recognize you. It isn't a dark secret if a candidate smokes weed. In fact, it appeals to a wide cross-section of the electorate. Both certain portions of the progressive base, that being most of it, and libertarians, they like their weed. You know what I'm talking about, you there, with the Bitcoin and the no step on Sneck flag. But what if a candidate smokes so much weed, they travel through time? Kamala Harris claims she smoked weed in college, and not only that, she inhaled, and not only that, she was listening to Snoop Dogg. Kamala Harris graduated from law school in 1989, before Snoop's time. Was she going to go to class, but then she got high and traveled through time? We may never know. With Tupac, it is more unclear. Did Kamala Harris have connections in the LA rap scene during the time she was in law school? Is Kamala Harris that cool? Through all of this, it's worth remembering that though Kamala Harris is a cop, was a prosecutor, whatever, just because she's a cop doesn't mean she has to tell you the truth. A Coast Guard lieutenant was arrested in late February on charges of drug and firearm possession. He had a small arsenal, otherwise known as an average American gun collection, a wildly excessive supply of human growth hormone, and tramadol. No accounting for taste, I guess. Along with a hit list of progressive political and media leaders. These included AOC, presidential candidate Kamala Harris, Senator and man I will never forgive for ditching a town hall in his own neighborhood, Chuck Schumer, CNN host Don Lemon, and MSNBC's Joe Scarborough, who isn't a liberal, but he is a never-Trumper. You see the pattern here. The Justice Department, normally eager to show off a successful investigation and thwarting of terror plots, failed to even issue a press release, which to me sounds about white. This has been the news that matters. We turn now to global nonsense. Brexit 3. This time, it's Brexit. As Britain continues its Thelma and Louise impression, they speed towards their next jumping-off point. See what I did there? With this week will come some crucial votes in Parliament over whether to accept Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit deal, a no-deal Brexit, or even to postpone the whole thing and run through fields of wheat. Since this has been recorded before the votes were scheduled to take place, but released afterward, we are in the unique position of you knowing more about the news in this case than I do. So I guess I will now check in with our expert correspondent from the future, our listener. Thank you, listener. That was extremely enlightening. The slate of votes comes after Prime Minister May met with the European Parliament late on Monday, along with Brexit Secretary Steve Barclay. She managed to secure legally binding changes only one day ahead of the first vote, alterations that are intended to prevent the United Kingdom from being caught in a backstop. Well, as they say, don't let the Northern Ireland hit you on the way out. India and Pakistan are standing on the precipice of war, dangling their feet in the abyss of mutually assured destruction and dipping their toes in the warm, radioactive waters. I think this metaphor has gone on long enough. On February 14th, in the Pulwama district of Kashmir, on the Indian side, a suicide bomber attacked a convoy carrying security personnel. The attacker killed 40 members of the Central Reserve Police Force, as well as himself. Pakistan has supported militant groups when they can help advance Pakistan's geopolitical goals, which, of course, America has never, ever done. India is aware of this. On February 26th, India launched airstrikes on militant camps in Pakistan's Balakot region. The next day, Pakistan shot down an Indian fighter jet and held its pilot captive. He has since been released as a gesture of peace, but tensions remain high, inflamed by media entities on both sides, particularly in India, where TV personalities are battling to deliver the most one-sided nationalistic take on the conflict. Both sides possess nuclear weapons. We are now seeing the mutually assured destruction logic playing out on the world stage in real time. Let's hope it holds. As a side note, Trevor Noah's joke about the conflict may have been offensive and insensitive, but it was also oddly prophetic. A Bollywood film based on the airstrike is already in development. This has been Global Nonsense. The world is on fire. Breaking news: 65 million years ago, the planet experienced a brief but cataclysmic hot spell, during which the average temperature rapidly transitioned from 3 degrees warmer than our current average to 9 degrees warmer. This period was the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. PETM. For murder. The carbon content of the air had skyrocketed. Mass extinctions occurred. Mammals became smaller. Plants became less nutritious. Alternating droughts and flash floods brought on by storms racked the planet. Equatorial waters became massive, fizzy jacuzzis. New computer modeling may have finally discovered the cause of PETM. When concentrations of atmospheric CO2 hit 1,200 parts per million, stratocumulus clouds break up. For those of you who aren't cloud experts, that being all of you, except Fred, stratocumulus clouds appear below 2,000 meters and produce little precipitation, but are critically important to regulating the Earth's temperature. When these clouds stop forming, a lot more sun reaches the Earth. So when you are watching Dianne Feinstein lecture children on the political viability of proposals to tackle climate change, remember that it won't be Feinstein hunting rats in the barren, cloudless wastes of the future. That would, of course, be the feral children. Dianne Feinstein will have transferred her brain into a robot spider. A Dianne Fine spider, if you will, eternally wandering the Senate chambers. Hoax of the moment. Parents are panicking over rumors of a new online craze called the Momo Challenge. But are Japanese ghosts telling our children to kill themselves? No. No, they are not. This has been the appropriate amount of time to devote to that story. Looking at you, BBC. Looking at you. We live in a sci-fi dystopia. Fievel, no! Scientists at Texas A&M have created a cocktail of regenerative proteins that have allowed lab mice to regrow a greater portion of amputated toes than normal. That being, any toes at all. Mice aren't lizards. It's science. This, of course, necessitated the scientists, who are probably cats, to amputate the toes to begin with. Let's not think too much about that part. The toes are still only partially regrown, but this 2-protein treatment is an advancement over previous trials, which only saw the regrowth of bone. One thing we can take away from this landmark study is that, in yet another one of God and/or nature's cruel jokes, the cells of mammals can regenerate. They just choose not to.
Positivity Corner.
The National Security Agency has released Ghidra, an advanced cybersecurity tool used to review and reverse engineer malicious code, to the research community, open source. Praise be to our robot overlords. This eliminates a major cost for cybersecurity professionals, students, and academics, and criminals. It's nice to see a sanctioned release from the NSA, rather than cyber weapons stolen by hostile state and non-state entities, or leaks from disgruntled former employees. My sources in the cybersecurity community report Ghidra is, and I quote, pretty rad. Its promotional art features a dragon curled in the shape of the infinity symbol, eating its tail, which itself is made of binary code, spelling out, "Hello World," the rallying cry of our future robot masters. Long may they reign. On our deep dive this week, we look into the cure for HIV. "12 years ago, Timothy Ray Brown, known at the time only as the Berlin patient, which is awesome, became the first person to be cured of HIV. Mr. Brown had cancer, an aggressive cancer which chemo had failed to stop. He received 2 bone marrow transplants from a patient with a specific immune-related gene mutation, Delta 32, that causes resistance to HIV. This mutation affects a surface protein, CCR5. HIV uses this protein to enter immune cells, but is unable to latch on to the mutated version. The treatment Mr. Brown received was particularly aggressive and included powerful immunosuppressant drugs no longer used. He nearly died. But today, Tim Brown is still alive and HIV-free. And now another person, known only as the London patient, which is also awesome, has remained free of HIV for a year after discontinuing treatment with antiretrovirals. The London patient shows that immune cell transplants can successfully treat HIV without the patient nearly dying and spending a month in a coma. But this method isn't suitable for widespread use treating HIV. Replacing all of someone's bone marrow, as you might expect, comes with a serious list of risks and side effects. This sort of transplant will remain a treatment only for certain types of cancer. But it is possible that an infusion of immune cells with this mutation might be able to fight off the infection, especially if combined with antiretroviral therapies. There are roughly 22,000 bone marrow donors with this mutation. Plenty of blood for the blood god, plenty of bones for the bone throne. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in again. Our headline of the week is, "Welfare check of deranged person turns out to be a cardboard cutout of MyPillow executive Mike Lindell." Don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe, or send in your candidate for headline of the week to mdrbraininajar@gmail.com. Once again, that's mdrbraininajar@gmail.com. Now, get out of my lab.